Hello there. It's your host, Dr. Zarya Rubin, and welcome to a very special solo episode of Outsmart Burnout. We've officially reached the end of season 1, and what a remarkable, crazy, exciting journey it has been. We had 11 powerhouse episodes packed full of wisdom, healing, and no shortage of aha moments. So, today, for this special finale episode, I am recapping each episode, sharing what we've learned about burnout and what it really takes to outsmart it. Plus, at the end, there's a little update about what's coming next. So, let's start at the beginning and go through some highlights and key takeaways. In the very first episode, I just simply shared some of my burnout story and why I started this podcast. I opened my heart to you guys and I told you my why and that burnout is so personal for me. It doesn't mean that you're broken, it just means that your life needs realignment. And this show was born from that realization and really a mission that I am on to help high achieving women in midlife reclaim their energy, purpose, power, and joy. And if you want to hear more about my story, you can definitely check out my TEDx talk to hear the full story. So that was episode 1. Episode 2, which I think is going to go down as one of my all-time favorites, was how to set boundaries without feeling guilty with Molly Rubin. And Molly really kind of gave us a masterclass on how to say no, but doing it with love, doing it with power, doing it intentionally, and really teaching us that boundaries are not selfish. There's something very, very important. And we learned that guilt is kind of just part of the growing pains of the healing process. So she emphasized understanding boundaries for personal fulfillment, for professional ability, and the ability to juggle and manage different tasks, and how, as women, we just often feel that our primary role is to please others, which can lead to very unfulfilling lives. She also taught us that setting boundaries is a skill that can be learned and practiced over time. We're not exactly born knowing how to set boundaries. She taught us the phrase, I'm uncomfortable, and how we can use that as a superpower in challenging situations that require setting a boundary. So it really just came down to building more trust within ourselves and taking these small, consistent actions over time. I would love to hear your thoughts on the episode and if you've practiced any of these techniques in setting boundaries. Episode 3 was the mental load of motherhood with Paige Connell, who is a huge influencer in the motherhood space and a really powerful voice when it comes to shedding light on the invisible labor that women do day in, day out, that mothers do. The emotional labor, the mental load, all of these things are invisible, they're unpaid, and they're just kind of like a never ending to do list. They're a cognitive burden that mothers carry, and it can really take a toll on us. So, she taught us different tools and strategies to help alleviate the mental load, things like as simple as writing down tasks, setting expectations, and talking with a partner about the default parent dynamic and how that can lead to unequal distribution of parenting responsibilities. We also touched on the pandemic and how that really put a spotlight on how challenging parenting is and how that load, that lion's share of work falls on mothers. And that all of this can lead to burnout over time if it's not addressed. So I think this is such an important topic, one that doesn't get enough airplay, one that we need to speak up about loudly and proudly. We need to start getting recognition for the mental load and the emotional labor that mothers all over the world are doing day in, day out. Our next episode was Functional Nutrition and Human Design with Hope Pedraza. I love this episode because, of course, Hope was speaking my functional medicine language. We talked about looking at nutritional causes and root causes of symptoms that can masquerade as burnout and what other things they could be. We talked about bioindividuality and how that's crucial when addressing symptoms and problems, and that what works for one person just might not work for somebody else, and that's okay. We talked about how challenging it is to implement healthy habits if you're a high achieving, overachieving perfectionist and you might push things too far and over exercise or engage in intermittent fasting, and that can actually worsen burnout symptoms. We talked about chronic fatigue and brain fog and that how those can be symptoms of burnout, and that how something as simple as hydration can actually improve your mental clarity and energy. And then we did a little detour into the realm of human design and how cool that is to be able to discover what your natural tendencies are and how that impacts your energy flow and your decision-making processes, and how you can harness that knowledge to create an environment or a career or a life that really plays on your strengths. And when you do that, you're less likely to burn out. So that was a really cool episode. Episode 5, Eldest Daughter Syndrome with Aileen Rabin. Wow, did this one hit a nerve? We unpacked perfectionism, people pleasing, and the over responsibility that eldest daughters start carrying in early childhood and how we can start releasing those burdens. I didn't even know this was a thing, eldest daughter syndrome. But since we published that episode, I have seen it pop up over and over again on social media. This is real. As an eldest daughter myself, raising my hand, we are struggling. And it's time for us to stop trying to do it all and do it all perfectly for everyone all the time, because all of that societal pressure, all of that perfectionism, all of that caregiving and caretaking and neglecting our own needs, that is going to lead us down a path to burnout. So we went pretty deep into things like the patriarchy and how that influences women's roles and expectations in society, how high achieving women often feel the need to control our environments, and that, again, boundaries are crucial for preventing burnout, and how women are conditioned to prioritize others over themselves. She also revealed a truth to me that was so deep and resonated, and I've been thinking about it ever since. And that was the notion that, yes, we're all familiar with intergenerational trauma and how we inherit trauma from our ancestors and we carry that burden with us. However, because they survived that trauma and managed to have offspring and procreate, not only do we inherit the trauma, but we inherit resilience from our ancestors as well. And that can be a really encouraging thought. Next, we had episode 6, Designing a Life You Love with Mari Woolner, and how to stop living your life on autopilot. Ooh, this one cut deep because we talked about living out of alignment and how that can actually cause burnout, how to make small intentional shifts in our daily life, how to get clarity on core values, and just taking imperfect action and not worrying so much, just taking the next right step. We also went deep into another topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that was mom guilt. This is such a common experience that so many women face, and we don't always acknowledge it. And we don't take the necessary steps to heal. And we have to challenge the societal expectations of motherhood and of women that it is okay to put your own oxygen mask on first. Not only is it okay, it's actually necessary. So define the type of mother you want to be, define the type of life you want to have, and don't just let it happen around you, and make sure that you fill your own cup so that you can support others as well as yourself. Episode 7. This was such a good one. I mean, they were all so good, right? Healing through havening and the hug it out method with powerhouse Hillary Russo. Hillary was such a treat to talk to because she is full of wisdom and knowledge and bursting with energy when it comes to trauma healing. She taught us about havening, which is a psychosensory approach that uses touch to heal trauma. I was not familiar with this method, but I found it fascinating that we are able to tap in to sensory biofeedback and use the amygdala to play a crucial role in down-regulating our stress responses. She taught us how to use humor and gratitude as components of emotional resilience, and she taught us about her hug it out method to foster healing, which was really, really cool. And, the brain is always changing. We're not stuck. We can create safe mental spaces for emotional healing, and we can practice these simple rituals of self care for preventing and treating burnout that can set us on the right path towards healing and get us out of that fight or flight mode and into a calm, rested space. Next, we had episode 8, Burnout in Women Entrepreneurs with Kim Walsh and how to recognize the signs and symptoms. She gave us so many practical tools, things like energy audits, somatic rituals, and mindset reframes to help us navigate the unique burnout challenges that come with entrepreneurship. And as high achieving women as entrepreneurs, burnout is just rampant among this population. But it doesn't have to be. We need to reframe the way we think about time and balance. Time can be fluid, it doesn't have to be linear, and balance sometimes doesn't quite exist. You may have to compartmentalize and work on one thing at a time and realize that balance is just a moment in time and it's not necessarily sustainable. She also taught us about mindset, skill set, tool set, and how all of these three elements are essential for long-term success. So definitely check out that episode if you are a women entrepreneur on the verge of burnout or on the road to healing. Next, we have episode 9 about perfectionism and the hidden costs of people pleasing with Dr. Kelly Kessler. Oh, Kelly was such a treat. She has a PhD in physiotherapy, and she talked to us about people pleasing and how just this constant drive to achieve and this need to be good and to check all the boxes ended up not being satisfying or fulfilling in the end. And that we sometimes need to rewire our subconscious beliefs so that we don't keep repeating the same old patterns over and over again and seeking validation in our success at the cost of our own needs. She talked about self-abandonment versus self-healing and how the subconscious mind runs 95% of our daily processing. Wow. So we really need to tap into that subconscious and tap into the nervous system and help regulate things so that we can feel safe and open to change. Okay. We're getting towards the end of season 1, and episode 10 was a departure from the rest in terms of the subject matter, but boy, was it relevant. We talked about how to tame the clutter chaos and finally figure out how to get organized with Madeline Kando. So in this episode, I got pretty raw and real about my struggles with clutter and mess. Yeah, it's an ongoing battle for me here, and how clutter can really contribute to overwhelm and burnout. So we talked about organizing versus decluttering and cleaning, and that if you have too much stuff, it's really difficult to get organized, that sometimes you have to get rid of things first in order to organize. We talked about more than just neat drawers, that organization is a reflection of our inner lives. And if things are really chaotic, it means that we have to take a step back and go deeper. We talked about developing small habits that can create lasting effects. If you just have 5 minutes, it's amazing what you can do when you just get up and do the work. And ask yourself the question, if you're not using it, why do you have it? And she talked about the metaphor for hiding the mess. And that was really deep. You can't hide the mess forever. You can shove things in a closet, but eventually it's going to resurface. You're going to open that door and it's all going to come out. So we have to deal with our clutter inside and out. Great episode. And last but not least, we had our most recent episode, episode 11, about living your dharma and finding your soul's purpose in midlife with Katie Farinas. I loved this episode. We really ended the season with soul, and Katie and I dove right into midlife purpose, dharma, which I was not really familiar with as a concept. Yes, I had heard about it in the yoga world, but it's really about finding your true soul's purpose and how to reconnect with your deepest essence when the old paths no longer seem to work or fit. And this episode is really kind of a permission slip and a love letter to your intuition. We talk about midlife and how challenging a phase it can be and how it's kind of an unraveling. Like Brene Brown says, it requires shedding old layers and things that no longer serve us, but it's also this amazing opportunity to become who we're truly meant to be. We talked about yoga and how it serves as a tool for nervous system regulation and self-discovery, and that identifying and kind of befriending and talking to your limiting beliefs is really a crucial step for personal growth. We talked about small daily practices like meditation and mindfulness that can lead to significant transformations over time. And we also talked about embracing what comes easily to us, that our true gifts are often right in plain sight and we don't really notice them or discredit them or avoid them because they feel too easy. And those are actually the things that might give us the greatest personal fulfillment. We talk about how being in the present moment can lead to profound changes in life. So I really encourage you to listen to that episode and really all of the episodes. And I would also love to hear which episode was your favorite. So what did we learn this season about outsmarting burnout? Well, there were so many parallel threads and commonalities throughout every conversation, and one truth just kept rising to the top, that burnout is not just about doing too much. It's about being too disconnected, disconnected from your body, disconnected from your needs, disconnected from your purpose, and disconnected from your truth. It's about having that check engine light flashing or blaring in your face and just simply duct taping over it. And here are a couple of things that we learned this season that really work when it comes to outsmarting burnout. Boundaries, setting them lovingly, clearly, and consistently, regulating your nervous system, making sure that you listen to your body to rediscover safety, clarity, and inner strength. Your home and your calendar are kind of mirrors of what's going on. And when you declutter those, your energy has room to expand. We learned that perfectionism is a trauma response and that healing begins with self-compassion. We also learned that small daily rituals can have a big impact, and they can be much more effective than trying to institute huge overnight changes, and that purpose is the antidote to burnout. But it's not somewhere out there. It's right here inside of you. So, what is next for Outsmart Burnout? Well, we'll be taking a short hiatus after this special finale episode. I'm going to be on vacation. I'll be traveling, seeing family, going to some special events in a couple of different countries. Don't worry. Outsmart Burnout will be back in September with brand new episodes, fresh insights, and even more tools to help you create a life that nourishes your soul, not drains it. And you have to trust me, okay? As phenomenal as this season was, the guests that are coming up, you will not believe these conversations. They are so life-changing, so jaw-dropping. I am not kidding. You definitely want to stay tuned. In the meantime, here's what to do. Go back and re-listen to your favorite episodes. Share them with a friend who needs to hear this message. Come follow along my journey on Instagram. Join my newsletter, which you can find on my website or in the show notes, and stay connected. Go ahead and watch my TEDx talk on burnout. It's really good, if I do say so myself. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one for functional medicine work, or if you want to join the VIP list for something incredible that's coming this fall. Hint, it's going to be a burnout and perimenopause community for women. You want to be part of this. Just send me an email at hello@drzarya.com. I just really want to say thank you for being part of this first season. Whether you listened while you were driving to work or walking the dog, folding laundry, or juggling clients, you've been with me on this journey of healing and transformation, and I am so grateful. The whole point of starting this show was to prove to women everywhere that you are not alone. You are not broken. You are a powerhouse in the process of remembering who you are. I can't wait to see you back in September. Until then, keep choosing rest, boundaries, joy, and you. And remember, burnout is not your destiny. It's your wake-up call.